How's it going, everybody? Texas Man here. I hope that you guys are all having a great day. If you guys would, please give this video a thumbs up if you guys really enjoy it. Subscribe if you guys have not already. Also, do me the biggest favor of all, hit the bell notification button. That way you guys don't miss out on future videos and streams here on the channel. You guys can also find me on Discord at 6957 The Texas Man. And we're going to be answering a question and proposing to you guys also, what could replace superhero films? Now, I have a list of 5 possible answers to that question. Now, in the comment section down below, if you guys have an idea that you think could replace the superhero genre, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you guys agree or disagree with me on my list, let me know in the comments also, and why or why not you guys agree or disagree. So, I have 5 solutions to what could replace superhero films. Now, a lot of these have been, done in the past decade or so with no success. They haven't really been able to steal the spotlight of the superhero genre. But I think we all, as either casual or die-hard moviegoers, can agree on the fact that the superhero craze is dying. Let's be completely open and honest, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. Superheroes, the film part of it, and even some of the TV show side of things, are starting to die. Whether we like that or not. And every single genre that takes over Hollywood and the general craze of the film and entertainment industry goes through a period of dying off. It goes through being the top banana to being just generic, boring, mediocre, pointless. And that's what's happening to superhero movies now. We had, an age where westerns were popular for 8-10 years. We had an age where the action hero was popular. We had an age where sci-fi was popular. We've had an age where kind of horror was the thing. We had it where, dramas were the thing and musicals were a thing. And, then we had, the big live CGI spectacles. And then after that, we've had superheroes. Now, the 5 things that I personally think that could replace the superhero genre, because let's be honest, things like the DC universe is basically dead. I mean, you could just go and look at the box office returns of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Check out my review if you haven't yet. You can look at the Marvel franchise and see the disaster that it has been ever since Avengers Endgame. I mean, there's been a couple hits with like Spider-Man and Shang-Chi, but in general, most people don't care. Moon Knight's been decent, but for the most part, Marvel is basically on death row. Same thing for DC. You can tell me any superhero franchise or any superhero name, and I can tell you for a fact that there's really no excitement. Like, even for me, my excitement for The Flash is not even to see The Flash. And put aside the drama that's going on with the actor of Ezra Miller, the only reason I'm going to go see that movie is to go see Michael Keaton back as Batman. I could care less about The Flash. I could care less about Supergirl. Could care less about the fact that we're going back again to the events of The Man of Steel. And Aquaman 2, The Lost Kingdom, we haven't even seen a trailer yet, and that's supposed to come out somehow this year too. or like, where's the Blue Beetle trailer? Like, how am I supposed to be excited for this stuff? And they're rebooting the DC franchise again for like the 5th time now. Superhero movies are dying. So this is going to be my 5 things that I think could replace it. Number 1, action flicks. Something along the line of Die Hard or Rambo, but make it PG-13 a little bit. Try to make them PG-13 so you can get more seats filled up with bodies. to watch them, because not everyone's going to go want to see a rated R movie where you say yippee ki yay, mama. Okay, so I think action movies could be good. The problem that I have with that is that it would require somebody to be an actual action star, and I don't think Hollywood has a action star to fill that role. We don't have a new Bruce Willis, just for example. We don't have a new Harrison Ford. We don't have that charismatic hero, or we just don't have that person. We don't have that person that pulls it off. Next thing that I think that could work is horror films. I mean, just look at the silly nature of a horror classic of Dracula being done by Nicolas Cage in the upcoming movie Renfield. Yeah, it has a comedy element to it, but it's primarily horror. And I think horror could work, but it needs to break out of the whole cycle that has been horror movies for the past 2 decades, where everything is super formulaic. They gotta reinvent the wheel. We can't have everything being a copy-paste job of the last horror movie that worked so well, because people like me pick up on it and get bored of the horror franchise. Like, there's a movie, Evil Dead Rise. The trailer looks interesting, but it's probably going to be a very formulaic movie unless something drastic happens. One of my favorite horror movies is Lights Out, but it is very formulaic and generic and very predictable, but it scares you. It does scare you the first time you see it. And that's what a horror movie needs to do, is it needs to scare you. Unlike things like the Saw franchise, where it's just blood, gore, and guts, that's not scary. That's not horror. That is just blood, guts, and gore. And that's what I mean by horror. We need something that scares you and terrifies you in an interesting, exciting way. Third thing that I think could replace superhero movies: book adaptations. Now, you might be thinking, oh dear God, you just opened the floodgates. Hear me out when I say book adaptations, because let's be honest, book adaptations can go either way. We've had the book adaptations of The Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner, the series of unfortunate events. They've tried to do Percy Jackson, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Harry Potter. So there are book franchises, and I know I just named a few, but there are book franchises out there that could be adapted to the big screen, or even to TV show versions. Like Series of Unfortunate Events, it has a movie version and a TV show version. So you can pick and choose which one you want to watch. Do you want to spend 10, 15 hours watching the show, or do you want to just spend 2 hours watching the movie? And both versions have completely different adaptations of the source material. So, but at the same time, we could run into things where things like The Hunger Games gets their finale split in two, or with Divergent, the series never gets concluded. And you're left wondering, what happens next. And then it's funny how I watch the Divergent films with my mom, and she's like, well, what happens after the third one? I'm like, well, unfortunately, they never made the fourth movie, so you got to read the book. And the last book, there's only 3 books, they decided to divide that third book into 2 films, so you only get part 1 of it in movie format. So if you want to know what happens in conclusion to the story, you have to read the book. My mom's like, I don't want to read the book. I just want to watch the movie. Well, I'm like, well, you're never going to get the answer. So there's a 50-50 coin to that. Fourth thing that could replace superhero movies, I personally think, could be, here we go, video game adaptations. Yes, you're probably thinking, oh God. Let's be honest though. Sonic 2, the recent Super Smash Bros. Movie, Detective Pikachu, for example, have all been amazing blockbuster hits. Even somebody like my parents that don't care about Sonic and don't care about Pikachu or Mario. I got them to go see those movies with me. And when they came out, even though they were against that because it's for kids, they still enjoyed it. And they still enjoy watching it with me when I'm watching it. And I think that's a great thing. The problem with the video game adaptation is that it can go really badly if you don't adapt it properly. For example, the Resident Evil movies, the live action Resident Evil movies, completely bonkers off the rail, including that recent TV show version. Oh, couldn't stand but 10 minutes of that. That was horrible. So it could work. Video game adaptations can work. Another problem, like for example, The Last of Us, is that I never watched The Last of Us show, and I don't ever plan to. I've played the games. So there's another problem with video game adaptations. The video game is a slightly more interactive, and it is what it is. So if you put that to movie or TV show format, why would I want to watch that if I've already played the game and I already know how things are going to go and things are going to conclude? If I've played the game, why would I want to waste my time watching the show or the movie? Because I've already done it. I've already seen what happens. Now, it'll be great for people that don't play video games, like my parents. But there you go. There's a 50-50 flip coin. And lastly, what I think could replace superhero movies is science fiction, sci-fi. Now, what I mean by that is making a proper Star Wars movie, making a proper Star Trek movie, a proper Star Trek show. Things sci-fi that is exclusively about characters starting nowhere, growing, having interesting interactions with other cultures, other planets, other worlds, and exploring the galaxy and growing as characters, growing as a crew, growing as a family. I want, if sci-fi was ever to take over superhero movies, I want something like Star Trek The Next Generation, where not only do we get bottle-like episodes, but we get episodes where it's helping to expand and explore the overall narrative and give us interesting villains, but don't overuse them to death, like the Borg. or resurrecting Palpatine because we have no idea what we want as a new villain for Star Wars. There are ways to make the sci-fi genre fun, but you got to make it where the sci-fi genre, if it was to take over superhero films, focuses on the sci-fi element. Things like Stargate SG-1 and Atlantis. And stay away from the dark, edgy political messaging of whatever is going on in today's society, like Stargate Universe started doing. Yeah, that's all I got. I don't know how else to explain that. But it could work. Sci-fi could work, but it needs to stay away from current events. It needs to just be fun family entertainment and just focus on being fun. And that's what I think has killed the superhero genre the most, is it's lost its focus on being fun, funny, and family quality entertainment. That is what has killed superhero movies. It's not focusing on the hero's journey and the hero and him going from point A, point B, point C. Instead, it has become, what can we squeeze in there about political messaging going on in this day and age? And I think if action movies, horror movies, book adaptations, video game adaptations, and sci-fi adaptations could avoid all that, all 5 of them could take over superhero movies collectively. Collectively, all 5 of my suggestions could easily take over superhero movies. I mean, action movies that have worked recently in the past 4 years, just for example, action movies, John Wick 3, John Wick 4, for example, video game adaptations, the Mario movie, horror movies that I think are going to really do good is Evil Dead Rise. Book adaptations. I honestly don't know of one that's coming out recently. I think that trend has kind of unfortunately died off. But sci-fi is on the rise. Sci-fi is on the rise. I mean, look at Star Trek Picard Season 3. everyone generally loves that season compared to the first two. So, these 5 things that I have suggested could easily destroy superhero movies if done properly. So that's going to do it for this video. Let me know in the comments, do you guys agree or disagree? Why or why not? Have a great day, and I'll see you guys all in the next video or stream. Bye, guys.